Who would have thunk it, right? We got this place freaking stocked up. And yeah, this might seem like an overnight kind of whatever, as though this has just spawned in. Not exactly. This has been quite a while in the making. So there'll be a little video tomorrow about kind of the install and everything else. But for now, let's just do a little MTV gym, walk through, see what kind of stuff we're working with. So don't look yet. No spoilers. We'll start over here in the back. So, a little room for some extra stuff. I've still got to order a few other handles. Right, all I've got now is a couple D handles, pull down bar, V bar, because I'm going to do, I've got back later tonight, but this is more than enough. So speaking of back, I think this would be a perfect position here. A little bit of an upper body kind of row. And honestly, I've really been waiting for something like this. A lot of these pieces I'm kind of almost inspired by from World Gym Cincinnati, because I would go down there and they'd have a lot of fancier stuff. Because usually we're all used to like a hammer strength row, where it's the same thing, chest pad, seat, but you're pulling like this, right? You're pulling kind of like the point of rotation isn't up here, it's down here. So even though it's like a row for upper back, it kind of turns into a lat movement, because at the bottom you might be pulling upward, but at the top you start to rotate. I feel like you're pulling down almost. Whereas something like this, like just a neutral kind of grip here, I'm almost getting a good lat stretch down here, but as I finish the rep, it's like I'm pulling up, kind of into more of a shrug. Because sometimes I'll do a seated row like this, and I end up just like almost feeling all lats. So like I'll do a seated row, and then I feel like I have to move on to more of an upper back focus, kind of like trap squeezing motion. Where something like this is a back starter, I mean, it'll be freaking perfect. Got a bit of a isolateral pull down over here, and the plate is freaking heavy. I mean, we get to feel all these when we went to the Arsenal showroom. Oof. I mean, that was like beginning of last year. So it's been a little while since I've been reacquainted. But yeah, just one plate on either side here. Yeah, that's not nothing. I'm sure I might even, I mean, I've got 3 sitting here, but I think one of these can serve its purpose a little better elsewhere. And then with this pull down, same thing, since it's kind of pivoting around, you get that lat stretch at the top. But with a regular pull down, it's like this, right? Just pulling straight down. But here it's a little more kind of rounded. So I'm getting like real deep kind of lats. Like if you're thinking Christmas tree, I'm feeling this part where it really like digs in. And if you really start squeezing that, I think it will make noticeable gains Christmas tree wise. Like you can get the same effect with like a light dumbbell row. Because instead of pulling like up here sort of mid trap, if you just drive your elbow back, I swear that's all I'm feeling. Like the lowest point that my lats even insert. And then if I hit lat spread, it's starting wide from the bottom. Now, total opposite of the sort of cage looking row. Like I was saying before, kind of a top down, kind of single loaded one. But I'm not sure how the strength curve on this one will compare to what I'm used to. Because usually on a machine like this, I mean, I've seen guys throw around, well, if we go back a couple of months to one of the old gyms I was going to at school, I'd have some heavy sets on a hammer strength row where I'd put 7 on it. Now, was it an awesome set? It could be up for interpretation, but we'll just have to see here. Because I'm sure with everything, once I get a few rounds of lifts in, all these machines are gonna have specific weights as what I kind of start with as like a comfortable starting weight. Because I mean, there's no rule that I have to unrack everything in here. So, T-bar row, and this one, same thing. I mean, honestly, most of these pieces, they're all very efficient weight-wise. Because the handle's here, and the weights are way over there, right? So I don't actually feel the force of like one plate. Honestly, it's almost probably maybe 1.5, because it looks like it's about 50% further from where I'm actually holding it. But same thing, I mean, there's videos of Nick Walker doing this with 25s, and the dude's freaking, he can move some weight around, right? We've all seen it. But this will be a good kind of upper back squeezer as well. And then this is where I'm really spoiled. The fourth Arsenal pullover that's kind of made it into freaking production. So this is something I've been missing out on. There's an old clip of me and my buddy Teague. He's giving me some assisted reps on the side. He was the dude with the cornrows. But I've been missing out on the pullover. Like, I like the cable pullovers, you know, one arm, light squeezing. But it's really not the exact same as a whole kind of setup. Plus, it's got the seatbelt. That's my only potential gripe later down the line. I gotta figure out a way to put a seatbelt on the leg extension. But we're talking back now, so. Oh, yeah, almost skipped the cable part. But these are pretty basic. You know, we've all seen them. Regular pull down, seated row. But most interestingly about this whole stack, these are heavy, right? Most like YMCAs or Planet Fitness or LA Fitnesses, usually you get up to 260 on a regular row like this, and that's it. I mean, I've seen some that just go to 200. Talking 300, right? So that's usually the, like if I put a plate on the side of the stack at Planet Fitness, that adds up to 300. So now, no need to torque this stuff around or get like an extra bolt or something. And then same thing in the cables. Usually these go up to 190, 250. So that's like a plate and a little bit of change. So now again, I think this will be more than enough for any kind of rope extension or tricep push down. Plus, one little upgrade that's gonna change over time is we've got a mirror actual installation in the next couple of, I think the next week and a half or so. So both of these walls will be kind of doubly mirror reflected. So that's, but for now, these standing kind of bathroom mirrors will do. So dumbbells, 5 to 150s. I'm a little torn here, right? Obviously, you know, lighter dumbbells, we all know the deal, they're everywhere. But moving on down the rack, I was kind of considering going up to 200. The 200s would not get use, maybe ever, right? That's Ronnie Coleman territory. But the 150s, I think they're within my wheelhouse. Enough where I think a little bit of an extension, maybe into some kind of, not like the Gold's Gym massive 300-pound dumbbells, that'd just be silly, but maybe just a couple of extra spots for the real heavy ones. Now the urethanes are cool because they're gonna bounce around a little more and not rip everything up, but these things are freaking huge. I mean, the 150s are, when I'm looking at myself in the mirror benching them, like as big as my head on both sides, which I guess is kind of a boost. It makes it feel like I'm lifting more weights. So I guess following chest, moving on to the pec deck, reasonably basic. You know, we all know the deal here. But one thing about this one in particular, because I mean, with the cables, it's cables, right? The dumbbells, it's dumbbells. But this compared to most other pec decks actually is a bit of a boost because these little pivoting points are actually a little behind my shoulders. So if I'm doing chest, usually these little bearings and stuff are like 6 inches forward. So the handles want to just move in a straight circular path. So if they're a little in front of my shoulders, it wants to pull me in, right? It's forcing me to use some front delt. It's trash. But since these are a little further back, my shoulders don't feel like they want to move forward. They almost feel like they're being pushed back. So when I'm in a fully squeezed position, I'm kind of getting a little inward pressure as well. Yeah, so now instead of actually like feeling a bunch of front delts, it's a bit more natural for me because I don't need bigger front delts. I got a side lateral too, because bigger side delts wouldn't do me too much harm, right? Because having my side delts kind of broaden, it won't increase the height of my front delt. And for me, like, especially if I'm doing a back double bicep kind of shot, my front delt, which is right up here, much rounder and higher than my bicep is, right? So I want these to be a bit more symmetrical. So that means I gotta get some beefier freaking arms. And shoulders can kind of relax. Ooh, whoops. Yeah, so, I don't know, I'm a little torn. Because even though I got the big ass speaker, I still kind of like the headphones. Because as loud as you can make a speaker, the headphones are really right in your ear. We'll see what happens. This might get returned. But yeah, here we've got a bit of a flat press. Well, similar like angle as that one over there. But this one differs because these handles can kind of move in and out. So I can have kind of a wider sort of something or other, or a little bit more narrow. And then that mirror should extend at least up to here or so. So I can actually look at myself as I'm like squeezing my chest to the top. But I'm not sure how strong I'm gonna be here. Guess we'll have to find out next chest day. This is another staple straight out of that World's Gym in Cincinnati that I liked. Incline converging press. And the converging part is really what I'm aiming for. Like, you know, if it's just a regular straight bar, I'd rather just do Smith machine. But the fact that as you press up, these handles get closer together, it kind of adds a little bit of almost like a fly motion contraction, right? Because the regular press, you push up, and then if you're at the top, this is like a resting position. But when it's converging, it almost gets just nastier at the inside because you're just pushing in, like you're holding two plates together, like flat like that without your grip. And then the flat press, same thing, different angle, slightly different kind of strength curve, but this is a bit more flat, right? So if I'm laying down on both of these, this one look a little more like this, that one look a little more like this. And I'll probably bounce around because like I was saying with my front delts before, if I'm doing an incline press and my chest is a bit fatigued, sometimes that causes me to overcompensate with a little front delt. So maybe if I'm, you know, fresh and strong, start there, then move on to more chest isolated stuff. Then we've got the incline bench. Just about the right angle I'm looking for. But if it's just me in here, this isn't really an awesome setup because I've got no interest in recreating the throwing the 315 over my knees kind of clip. Plus, I mean, that could go sideways. I don't even want to think about it, right? There's no wood in here, but knock on wood. So unless I've got a spotter, what I really need to do is get like some squat blocks, like the stuff the Olympic lifters use, just to unrack things, because I can basically bring it to like the perfect height on both of these sides, where if I have to drop it, it's not gonna crush me. But yeah, this will kind of be in front of the mirror too, so I'll make sure I'm perfectly vertical. Every so often I get a little like angle to my barbell bench. Like I think my right arm stays a little lower and my left arm kind of takes over, go a little crooked. So being able to look at yourself while I'm doing it, that'll be freaking sweet. So moving on to the squat rack, plus a little kind of laser cut customization on the top. This will probably be reserved for squats. Potential for some curls, you know, that's never out of the question, plus some barbell rows, but no, this will be mainly a squatting kind of movement. I feel like I need to add some effects, like get some blood spatter against the mirror, just some kind of something. Because I want this to be my craziest thing ever. Like if I'm sitting here, music, whatever, and I've got 5, I don't know how many plates waiting for me to throw around, there's a certain like excitement. And I don't want to say anxiety, but maybe nervousness is a little better. Because before even playing any music at all, it's like, yeah, it's hard to explain. But next to the rack, Smith machine, which sometimes I might not pick a Smith if I go to a certain gym if it's angled, right? So this one can be adjusted on the back end to be a little bit more, I guess you could say kind of declined versus vertical. And this one's set up for vertical, which is pretty much perfect for me, because that means I don't have to face a specific way if I want to squat in here. Because if you've ever used a Smith like this, I wouldn't want to squat facing this way, because that would mean, well, actually maybe I would. I don't know, there's two ways to look at it. If I go in this way, yeah, no, I would squat this way, there we go. Because it lets me rack it forward. Like, you're very strong to roll this thing forward. I've had I wasn't recording it, but I was at a Planet Fitness, I think like maybe a year ago, 6 months ago or something, and I'm facing the other way. So I get into the rack like this, I'm just warming up, and I go to re-rack it at like 4 plates, and I didn't actually engage the clip. So it was, I mean, if it was on purpose, it'd be like the dumbest thing I've ever done, at least in terms of gym etiquette. Because to anybody else watching, it really just looked like I threw 4 plates off me and let it slam to the ground. No, so I'll squat facing this way. Actually, yeah, I guess I'll do both, because I like incline bench on the Smith machine too. And same logic, right? If I pull it back here, this is a much more natural hand position, because the weight is actually like sunk into my hands. I've had a few Smiths where you kind of had to do it facing this way. So imagine I'm on a bench here. This is natural, right? Like, this is me pushing this bar up. So if I unrack it and then roll it forward, this is a bit more of a freakier kind of feeling. Like, this is where you might see like a thumb slip out. Not ideal, right? We've seen a pretty reasonable amount of clips like that. So one more aspect here, these safeties will be utilized. So I want to set these just about as close to the bottom of my range of motion as possible. So if I'm squatting and I can like get down here and it's like maybe 2 inches up, perfect. Because then for whatever reason, if something happens, I can just set it down all gentle like, instead of having to drop it now an extra 2 feet. And what's the outcome? You're either gonna get launched forward, like try to climb backward, and if you got a ton of weight on top of you, yeesh, don't even want to think about it. But these should be where a lot of brute force sets go down. And then side lateral machine, out of everything that changes up a dumbbell side lateral, I'd say this is pretty much my favorite. Like, I don't mind some of the ones where it's like a seated pad. I mean, I like them, but this one's just a little extra fancy. I think I used my first one of these at I think it's called Center City Gym in Petoskey. Bit of an older one, but same kind of logic here. Plus, you don't build up that much momentum, so I'm sure this will be, at least this and the dumbbells will be my primary kind of shoulder movements, plus pec deck for like rear delts. So this is one that's kind of been itching to be delivered for me. Overhead tricep extension. You don't see these. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen one of these in Ohio before. There was one in Hilton Head, and I think I saw one, I'm trying to think where else. Yeah, no, I couldn't tell you. But same logic as when I go on the cables. I set the cable to like head height with a rope and kind of turn myself over like this. This is kind of a long head stretch focus movement, but a bit easier on the elbows, at least for me. So I would much rather do something like this than like a skull crusher or a like behind the neck dumbbell extension. This is just a lot more natural. And then legs, not complete just yet. Still waiting on a couple of things, plus some cardio equipment over in that wall. Thinking, gonna dabble with the stair climber. Been hearing a lot of kind of murmurs from older school characters that might be missing out. But the bike, irreplaceable. That'll probably be most of my regular cardio. But in terms of isolation, laying hamstring curl, seated leg extension, and then donkey kind of calf raise. Because I was kind of, I don't know, I mean, there's room for more. Like I always love a kind of seated calf raise, but I think I've been missing out on the calf raises with straight legs. Because when you're seated, some part of your calf just isn't getting as much activation. So if I've been doing a ton of seated calf raises, like for as long as I've been lifting, I think changing it up with some of this straighter leg, plus I can really try to load this thing up, that'll probably be good for me. But here there's gonna be a hammer strength seated curl, and then a hammer leg extension. And back here in the corner where this picnic bench is, this will be replaced with a hip press. So kind of the two leg pressing, what's the word I'm thinking of? Monoliths, maybe. Because with the sled, you know, we all know the deal. Strength curve is perfectly even. Like if I had a scale in between my feet and the pad, at the top, it's gonna read the same weight. At the bottom, it's gonna read the same weight, which, you know, like a squat or something, just a straight kind of loaded set. Love it. But with something like a hip press over here, what happens is instead of basically riding along a track vertically, the weight's gonna kind of pivot around, right? So same thing with some of those chest presses. It might be lighter at the bottom, or I guess lighter at the bottom and then heavier at the top where you're stronger. So it just kind of ends up being a little bit, just a little different, but also I get way less knee pressure and I get no glute activation, right? I want my legs to thicken up from, I guess you could say, the hips down. I don't need as much thickness here. I'm trying to build up everything above and below, kind of like X-frame style. But yeah, there'll be a good amount of weights getting thrown around here. Might even need an extra weight tree. But I guess, you know, I can only show it here, but that machine will have safeties too. So on none of these, if it's just me, do I ever want a situation where I got a bunch of weight, I can't re-rack it, and it's gonna come down on me. So the same thing here. This big ass freaking leg press has these safety pins. So even if I couldn't re-rack it to one of these extra, you know, whatevers, I can set it right to kind of my limit of range of motion, but not so deep that I can't still kind of climb out. Same thing in the hack squat, which I'll probably dabble. There's gonna be two styles of sets here. Probably heavy, regular basic ones, like just deep squat, flat foot, but I wouldn't be surprised if even with no weight, I do some leg extensions and immediately jump over to do like some kind of Tom Platz style, like real deep sissy squat stuff. I wouldn't want to do that for every set, but I think it's kind of a pump and finisher. Perfect. And same thing, safeties. Now there's kind of a funny clip at one of the gyms I've been to that has an Arsenal pendulum squat where this was not installed yet. There was no safety down there. So same thing, now I can really load this thing up with that fear of smushage, because I can set that right to the bottom, and then, you know, if the rep can't get all the way back up to either this top pin or the second one, I can still, well, I guess not pin myself in the bottom. And this pad kind of adjusts angles too, which is nice. Because I've used a few of these where this foot pad was totally static, just welded on. And like they were good, but what would happen is it would either be like too steep, like this. Like I could never do a pendulum squat here because my ankle mobility isn't that good. But if I lower the angle down to here, right, that'll make a bit more sense. And with this, honestly, with a couple of these where my feet are on these pads, I might get some skateboard grip tape and kind of put two tracks down just for some extra traction, you know, minimize any adverse end kind of effects Just a weird way of saying don't hurt myself. But that's pretty much the gist of it. It'll begin to evolve. Like, this isn't the final form. I'm sure some of these machines will get swapped with the others if I want to maybe see myself in the mirror with this press versus this one. But yeah, getting into kind of how this will be used. Like, of course, I'm going to hog it because now I've got full access to this massive kind of just sort of everything. But I also want to make this kind of like a hub. Not like, not having a, I just mean bringing a bunch of characters out from, all over the woodworks. Because how long's it been? It's been like almost 2.5 years of just straight Sam lifts. I think we should dabble out and get a couple characters out here. Because once I start lifting, I'm going to hold all the records in this gym. If it's just me, I could bench the 30s, and that'd be the heaviest bench in the space, right? Or, whatever pose down I get later, that'll be the freakiest pump that's ever been achieved in here. But I wouldn't mind getting dethroned. It's just more motivation for later. So I think that's kind of the gist of it. We'll get a bit more of the kind of story and progress tomorrow in the install video, but yeah, this is what we'll be working with. I'll still bounce around different gyms. Like, this won't be the only one I go to, but this will probably be the only one I go to, at least for a while, because I got to break it in. But yeah, keep an eye out for anything else that changes. As always, I'll keep you guys updated.